the really interesting thing that I learned, and this is why I think it's related to what we're doing in the C-store business, is while it may recover, there's things that we want to do to avoid the bad situations from happening. The store managers, I'm in with store managers every week, and they have an incredible sense of responsibility and duty and pride to make sure the stores are running well for their owners. And they feel ownership in it as well. But so we're throwing a lot of responsibility for a $3 to $5 million business, sometimes more. And we want to offer the store manager's perspective about what you can do to help make their job just a little bit better so they can, help your company thrive and achieve what it is.
Most owners that I have dealt with, they've actually been pretty good about it of, coming to them, but like, whatever question you have, we'll answer them. Don't be afraid to, ask. No question's a stupid question. So
from the owner's perspective, I like to sometimes stop and say, what are we all? We're all interdependent. So the owner has got to make sure that he places the bet on the right location, the right technology, how he's going to handle, different competitors that are going on. And he typically is either signing a bank loan to do this, or he's managing a family business that's very successful and he's responsible to make it happen. So there's a lot of pressure to make those choices well, and we have to trust. The operations leader is typically been delegated, 10 to 100 stores to oversee with the help of other people. While he doesn't perhaps have the financial responsibility of the store, he like the store manager has that duty to take care of that. And he's dealing with a lot of different people, trying to help them solve problems and not solve problems so that they can help for themselves. What he told me, I never forgot. He said, Tom, my cashier is my store. It is my customer experience. And that's the most important person in our company to make sure that our store is doing what it needs to do. The store manager is the one that's got to make sure it's working out in the field. When I look at the manager workload, I divide it into these 3 tiers. At the top, we've got the turnover, the onboarding, and the retention. And I think they're all related. In the middle of it, what we've got to do, this is the long-term value of our company, the culture that we have in the store, the customer experience that we deliver, and loyalty. And I'm going to come back to you also, Leonna, about your definition of loyalty. I love that one. And then we've got the real day-to-day operational pieces that, people often think of, that's the store manager's duty, doing the compliance, making sure that nobody's stealing, making the orders, growing the business, growing the profits.
Focus on what they're doing for the store, and it's an overall good experience for the customer. We want them to have the best experience that they can have.
How much of the customer experience or the culture, you're at your store, Garrison's, you all have a certain feel, the customers know it. How does that play into your hiring process?
It's a family-oriented business, or our company is. So we wanted our employees to treat our customers like their family and just have that nice vibe to the store.
Building the team starts at the hiring process, and she goes slow. We've also instituted, a 3-day, 3-interview process, because we just learned from working with these store managers. Give me a quick summary of why you take some extra time in the morning, Leonna, and how you go about deciding to prioritize your day, starting with that scorecard.
It takes a lot more time. And I want to see where we're down and work on that more, where I can talk to all of the clerks and let them know where we're slacking. And also on the other side, where we're picking up.
I think that's what's so fascinating. I've heard that lately, that more store managers are actually sharing things directly with their cashiers and getting them involved. I think the example that I love the best.
Yes, I spoke with him. Well, I asked him to look at the scorecard, and I said, how can we make this better? And he said, oh, we can do some upselling. And immediately he went on the floor behind the register and he started suggesting to the customers, hey, you want 2 of those? we can save you this if you buy 2 of them. And immediately the sales, he started selling 2 at a time.
I've heard a lot from owners and store managers recently, as we're hiring more, in the beginning, there's that risk. As much as we try to filter, there's some bad actors out there. And I think there's been more bad actors in the terms of shrink, where there's so many jobs available, they can get away with it, and they start testing.
Well, we get that report once a week. I look at it just to see, the dollar amount that, is off and everything like that. And I look at it and I go to the cashier if it's a real high number and be like, hey, what's going on here? Why do we have so many voids or no sales? What's the deal going on? And try to, see if it turns into an issue of, do we have a cashier stealing from us, or just going too fast and just trying to making a mistake.
Age compliance is, oh my gosh, I think it's worse than shrink these days. I had one of my customers, when we've been doing business for, at least 5 years. And he said, Tom, I had a $40,000 fine at one of my stores. I just can't make them do age compliance.
You just started out, and the thing is, you want to try to make sure the line doesn't get too long, but you want to try to get every customer out as quickly as possible. And they just weren't checking that either. They were just, where the age verification deal came on, they just went through it, didn't even bother with it or anything like that. I had asked her about, it's like, are you checking IDs? And the answer was, well, no, you told me that get a long line. I need to get them out as quickly as possible.
The age compliance here is, I think it's kind of a competitive thing here in the store. And, it reminds me, I told the story of my oldest son didn't turn in his homework. Okay, so I showed up at the school right when the bell rang for the kids to change class. They all file out in the hallway. Oh my gosh, his mom is here. He never missed turning up in his homework again. So to me, this is a lot like that. I print these out and they all look at it and say, oh, he didn't do it. Or this one says, oh, he beat me. So, I'm not really having a problem with it anymore, because they're looking at what they're doing and they're seeing their mistakes and they're correcting it.
To paint the picture, so you're getting the age verification report, Leonna, which tells people who's scanning which IDs, and who's maybe scanning a little less than they should, or maybe they're taking the shortcuts, and then you're posting that publicly in the store so they can all see who's doing what. And you found that to be pretty effective. This came from a operations manager. So one of the challenges we face is, as we try to manage through a change in culture, is our managers taking responsibility for their associates. They're still hesitant to discipline associates in fear of them leaving.
Well, there's always that possibility, if you try to discipline an associate for bad behavior or just not doing something properly, you run that risk of them leaving or just not doing their jobs or doing it halfway. But you've also got to look at it as you still got a job to do. The owners of the store, they expect you to keep the store going one way or another. But you got to also know that if you don't discipline them, these the cashiers or associates, whatever, they'll think, well, we can just walk all over our manager. There's no leadership. Absolutely. With the data that you guys have given us, allows us, to look, okay, this is the area that we're struggling in, or that, that a associate is having trouble with shrink or the age verification. We had that paperwork there, and if we're talking to the employee, like, listen, this is what's going on. This is what we're thinking you're doing or not doing. And, most of the time they're like, well, I've never done that before. Well, this is what, this is what this report's telling us. And then you have proof behind the allegations. So it comes in handy a lot.
How often do you order, and how often do you actually look at that report for the detail? Because that's a pretty detailed report. How do you use that without getting bogged down to look at, your different products that are selling?
We order once a week. I look at it with cigarettes and tobacco. It helps make sure you order the right amount for a particular week. If so it breaks it down to how many you're selling a week, and it keeps your back stocks down.
We found that just by giving a list of products that are missing from some of your stores that are related to stores that they are selling, that's helped. Maybe it's just a supply chain issue, or maybe it's as simple as we forgot to put the barcode on the rack. We like that.
When we hire someone, we usually, it usually takes about 2 weeks training, and I will do some of it, and then some of the other clerks will help out with the training. I really don't have a problem. I have one that has done an excellent job in helping out with a new employee. They enjoy each other. They have a lot of fun. And the new employee has turned out to be super. He started working different hours, and he started becoming a happier person, it looks like. And he's working with a different person and different hours, and he's having fun, I believe.
More flexibility, happier output, and solving a training problem. It's pretty easy. I know I make this mistake. I so many things I want to do. I overwhelm my staff. And I've heard that given all of the pressures right now, being a little bit more patient with the pace of change and a lot more clear has been really helpful. What's motivating you as a store manager right now?
Well, I've learned over the years, to make a business grow, you've got to add new things. I've learned that from all my bosses throughout my career. But really the big thing with Greg is they do listen. Now you may not get all your wish list, but they do take the time. They do listen to what you're saying, and they give their feedback of, would it work, and won't, if it doesn't work, this is why it won't work.
This is so important for you all to hear from other store managers.
It gives us a different outlook. It's something that we may have not thought of doing if we have a problem. You hear from other store managers and the way they do things, and it might give you a new idea on how to handle a situation.
When you were struggling with an assistant manager that was taking a little bit too much time to learn the weekend job, calling you couldn't get any rest. And I think you applied one of the techniques that was being used for a cashier. How did you solve that problem?
I sat down and I made a step-by-step to-do list for this person, and just procedures. And the next Saturday, he went by these procedures, and I haven't gotten a phone call since.
When it's going well, you get what you want as an owner, and you get what you want as a manager, a store manager, or a district manager. It makes no difference. But my team constantly reminds me that it does take time, and we got to keep investing. And I was hoping Leonna and Mike were going to bring it up. They said, people slip back. The reason we have store managers out there is because we're people, right? Even if we're doing everything right. And Leonna and Mike were laughing last week. Yeah, they're going to slip back. We have to just stay on them. But they're laughing and joking, and I think it gets easier. is a 1, 2, 3 program. I don't think it takes a lot of time. You all are out in the stores, and you could probably come up the top of your head which store is really performing well. Maybe it's a couple. And so that's step one. Just think about which store is going well, and then why you think that store is going well. And then step two, what is that store manager one that's been there for a while in the store that's doing really well that you picked? And what is it about that store manager that allows change to happen? Because I don't care what you guys say, you're constantly changing everything in that store, right? We're doing new services, we got new people, we got new products coming out, we're going to do a reset. There's always something. Are the stores that are doing well the ones that have really good retention and a really solid management stability? And then does that give you the ability to, if you want to make some changes in your other stores, is that a place to begin? And so I think this is a simple 1, 2, 3 program. That reach out to info@bandyworks.com. We'd like to offer you a store review and something that doesn't require a lot of time necessarily from your staff to implement, that has impact quickly, is the age analysis or shrink analysis. Or if you've got a manager that wants to grow and you don't want to, do any new analytics or anything like that, we'll offer you a month where they can attend our workshops with people like Leonna and Mike for free.